Spoiler alert, this movie sucks. I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but come on, they've never gotten any of these movies right. Why would they suddenly make this one good? They've had four chances, and each one of them just seems to get worse and worse. And they didn't even release the very first of these movies, so what should that tell you about the quality of this film? But let's not forget all about that. And let's just talk about the movie. I really don't want to, but those Deadpool's next week, so I'll just look forward to that and get through this shit pile. Okay, here we go. Childhood friends Richard Reeves and Ben Grimm have been trying to make a functional teleporter since they were kids. With, of course, no one believing in them because they're kids, they're young and full of all that stuff. And in their high school years, they draw the attention of Franklin Storm, who takes in Reed into a government sponsored research institute. If you're wondering where Ben is, well, Reed kind of strong arms Ben into the whole group, if only to have Ben have his back and whatnot. At the Institute, Reed meets Sue Storm, her brother Johnny, and Victor's personal student, Victor Von Doom, who still has the name Von Doom despite not really having an excuse of nobility count stuff he has in the comics for having a last name Von Doom. The group makes an actual functioning teleporter that leads into another universe, so a dimensional teleporter, but are disappointed that the government wants to do the smart thing and send trained NASA explorers instead of the group of untrained children. And in the dumbest move for the biggest group of for apparent group of geniuses, they decide to take the teleporter out for themselves the night before, and of course things go wrong. What do you think that timer on the screen was for? The main four end up mutated and leave Doom behind when they make their escape. Now they've learned to use their abilities, learn to work together, and stop, Doom's inevitable attack because, again, Von Doom. So let me just set this straight. The movie is heavily inspired by the Ultimate Universe Fantastic Four, who instead of getting their powers from cosmic radiation in a space flight, instead got them from a teleporter accident by teleporting to an alternate dimension. And while again, that's a fine origin. That's perfectly fine to use a different source material for your origin story. But why not go with the whole thing and use the main villain for that origin story instead of using Doctor Doom for the upteenth time? In the comics, the main villain of this origins issue and whatnot was Mole Man, who would have definitely worked as a much better villain than Doom, especially due to the fact that in the Ultimate Universe, at least in that issue, the Mole Man was a former teacher of Reed Richards and the other members of Fantastic Four at their time during their institute. You could have just had one of the scientists become the Mole Man thanks to a teleporter accident, and that would have explained the whole take over the world thing instead of having Doom show up and want to destroy the world later. And speaking of Doom, these movies makes no sense. I think this is the worst on-screen Doom that they've had ever. Yes, even worse than the original movies. Well, including the one that wasn't released. He starts off as some hacker who's taken in by Franklin Richards to join the project for some reason. And then he's left behind in the alternate dimension that they call Planet Zero, and he gets super mutated, gets weird, loosely defined psychic powers, and sets out to destroy the world, of course, the giant beam in the sky. And do I even have to say why this isn't Doctor Doom? It's just some rando calling himself Doom, and it's utterly dumb, and it makes no sense. The whole properties of Planet Zero don't make any sense at all. They never fully explain what Planet Zero is, what its properties are, and how did it mutate them all into these various different mutated forms. Speaking of stupid, let's get back to good old Richard Reed. So he drags his friend to the project just to be there. Then basically when he drags them all into the whole teleporter and gets everyone mutated, he ends up running away in order to find a cure for them all without government interference. Why? I I can kind of get the typical thought process if we saw the government, being strictly evil, but no, we never saw that. We just saw them being reasonable authority figures. They said limitations for the children, told them they wouldn't be allowed to go into the alternate dimension because they're going to send trained people to do it. No, the scientists who built the rocket weren't the ones who actually flew it, Reed. You get what I mean by this? They stress this whole thing about it being bad if the government gets the teleport technology from Richard, but they get it from him, and what do they do? Do they cause the end of the world? Do they do something evil with it? No, they just do the reasonable thing, the scientific thing. Go take some samples and notes, and don't get mutated. That's all they do. I mean, yeah, they bring Von Doom back, but that's kind of a, oh my god, you're still alive, or oh my god, let's bring this poor kid's corpse home to his family kind of thing. There's not really any evil, malicious intent. Again, we were never given a reason to distrust the government in this movie, and all we saw were reasonable authority figures. So, yeah, this makes no sense. On top of abandoning the massive resources he had at a government facility to work out of a shed and produce no results for 2 years, I think. I forgot. I was barely paying attention anymore. So again, Reed running away from the group makes no sense. I also try to stress the group coming to work together as a unit or a team or family or friends. And I'm wondering how long have they actually spent time on screen together? I honestly can't remember because it felt like they barely spent that much time before the whole teleporter thing, the alternate universe thing, and then Reed abandoned them all. It's like I can see Reed abandoned them all, except for Ben, because Ben has apparently been the one person who's been there for him since he was a kid. When he's known Sue, Johnny, and Von Doom for about 2, maybe 3 weeks. And there's a lot more to go into, but I want to go all over that and talk about this dumb title. Now, you're supposed to read the title as you would, any title, Fantastic Four. But in order to be hip, cool, and edgy, they replaced the A in the title with the numerical 4. Then, yeah, I tried to make it look all interesting and whatnot, but ultimately it leads to a ridiculous looking title, a movie that's trying way too hard to seem cool and ultimately fails in every regard. There's a lot wrong with this movie, and even while trying to find some positive things to talk about, I can't find anything. This all feels like the same tired, drab, cliched stuff. I mean, if I had to say anything good, anything at all good, I would have to say I know a lot of people had the various issues with this casting choice, but Michael B. Jordan did a really good job as Johnny Storm. I'm not going to say anything more than that. He did a really good job playing the character, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Honestly, at this point, Fox stands to lose more money continuing to handle this dumb license instead of just giving it to Marvel and let Marvel try their own hands at it. But no, they're going to make one more movie, a Doctor Doom movie, and it most likely won't even work. It'll just be another dumpster fire like this one. All because of some dumb studio feud. And this, people, is why we can't have the X-Men or Fantastic Four characters in the new Marvel vs. Capcom game. And if I'm wrong and I count as DLC, well, that took fucking forever. That should have been the original version. Jesus Christ, this movie sucks.